about the sea turtle. And now here comes the day. And for today's edition, today's series, as well as we are going to help your previous workplace, yeah, which is the Jaguar Rescue Center in Costa Rica. We're gonna also open the donation program until the end of the show tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna show the link of the donation through the chat of this Zoom chat. Yeah, and as well, I'm gonna greet the moderator for tonight's show, Dr. Dita. Are you there already, Dr. Dita?
I am. Hello.
Where is she?
Hello, Lita.
Yes.
Hi, Ferran.
Okay, how are you, Doc?
Good. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, from Bali, yeah.
I am from Bali.
So
Nice.
Dr. Dita is in Bali now, and Dr. Ferran is in Barcelona, Spain. And we're going to start the show. But before that, I'm gonna show you about the video, yeah, the teaser video that we created. And before that, I'm gonna take this for Dr. Dita to lead the show. Yeah, you see video.
Hello, my name is Enkar, and I'm the biologist and the founder of the Jaro Rescue Center. Welcome to my home here in the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica, in Limon area. Follow me, and I want to show you my place. We have around 230 animals right now here in the center, and all of them arrive from the huge biodiversity of this area. We have sloths, snakes, monkeys, wild cats, a lot of different kind of animals for a lot of different reasons, like electrocutions, hit by cars, or orphan babies, or they were confiscated by the police or by the authorities, by the government. A lot of different reasons. And here we have the kitchen, and Angelica is the main responsible of the kitchen, the cooker. So she's preparing around 200 plates every day of vegetables, fruits, fish, chicken, meat, a lot of different things for a lot of different animals. And now let's enter to the hospital. Here is our veterinarian team. They are healing Gamora's wounds right now. Gamora was electrocuted in a power line around a month ago. So the injury, it was very, very severe, as you can see in all the whole body. And the treatment, it was complicated. Twice a day the vets have to take care of her with a lot of pain, but she's getting much better. And like Gamora, 70 animals in need of our care arrived last month, and no one is left behind here. Vamos. She's Dada. She's a brown booby with a fractured wing, as you can see. She came here around 2 years ago, and she's the queen of the yard. She's the queen of the rescue center. Is going around and is eating fresh fish every day. Is going to the beach sometimes with the volunteers, and it's so important to have some animals as ambassadors. The ambassadors represent the impact that we humans put in our biodiversity, in forests, animals, and it's why she's here. I arrived in 2005 here in Costa Rica from Barcelona. I'm a biologist, and my late husband, it was an herpetologist. We both started treating animals here because no one was taking care of them in the area. So suddenly our home, it was full of animals. Since 2005, we receive here at the Jaguar Rescue Center around 5,000 animals. We operate thanks to donations, visitors, and volunteers, but we are struggling right now because the pandemic started in March, and we were able to keep the center running during this month, but now every month to pay the bills is getting more difficult. So our job is in risk right now. We need around $30,000 every month, and every month is getting more complicated. This is why I reach out to you. Each and every donation, even if it's small, is a world to us. Please follow us in social medias and share our message. And thank you so much for help us to help them.
Yes, it is. Yeah, time to give, time to donate. Yes, so Jaguar Rescue Center was the previous of Dr.Ferran's workplace. Yeah, he is still communicating with Enkar and Sophia as well. Yeah, from Jaguar Rescue Center in Costa Rica. And I think through this collaboration, we can also help in the net, because every single donation of you, no matter how small is it will be worth. Yeah. So let's get the net. I'm gonna share the link of the donation later on the chat. Yeah. For then, I'm gonna let Dr. Gita to lead the meet Dr. Ferran series number 3, yeah, sea turtle introduction to handling, rehabilitation, and clinical procedures. So Dr. Gita, the time is yours now.
Hello, thank you, Dr. Bino. So greeting for you all, Indonesian veterinarians and also veterinarians from all over the world. It's really an honor for me to moderating Dr. Ferran Class 3 at Dr. B Vet Show. It's really amazing. So Dr. Ferran, are you ready for your presentation?
I'm ready, Rita.
Please,
Whenever
please, time. Cool,
okay,
cool.
so let's
All
start.
right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for having me and for sharing the message from the Jaguar Rescue Center. That I'm sure it will help them a lot.
Sure. All right. Time and place, Dr. Ferran. It's yours.
Okay. So Do you see the presentation?
We all see that. Great.
Okay, perfect. So, well, today we will talk a little bit about sea turtles. In the last years, I've worked in the CRAM Rehabilitation Center in Barcelona for a few years, and also in Jaguar Rescue Center, we started having sea turtles. And maybe we can see from both points of view, from a place that we used to have a lot of cases from very different origin, from basically fishing interaction, and we had fortunately good facilities, from the other side in Costa Rica, where we were not prepared to have any marine animal, but well, we had to improvise and to adapt to the animals that came in, and yeah, since then, in the time I was there, and already now every year they get several sea turtles, but from different problems, basically from poaching and hunting, from people in the area, and yeah, some other problems that we will talk later.
Dr. Ferran,
So
sorry interrupting.
yes.
I think you haven't shared screen.
No.
Could
Okay,
you please do
how?
the share
Let me
screen?
see.
The green icon below your screen. Ah,
Okay, maybe now.
yes. Thank you.
Okay,
And please make it
sorry.
the full screen one.
Yeah. um, Now is better.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I'm sure you know that in Indonesia there is several species of sea turtles. It's one of the countries in the world with more different species of sea turtles. Actually, in the world, there are 7 or 8 species, depending how you count them, but we can say 7, and 6 of them, you can find them in Indonesian waters. So that's amazing. Um, in this slide, maybe you recognize a few of them. From the biggest one that you see on the right, that is the leatherback sea turtle, is very large, to the very local Natator de Presos, that is like the one found in Australia and in some areas of Costa Rica. The only one that you guys do not have is the Kems ridley, that is only in the Pacific coast of Mexico and America. Um, but it's a very unique place where you are. Also, everywhere in the world, well, not everywhere, but in all the temperate climates, we can find sea turtles, but everywhere they are declining the populations. And I think they are quite unknown animals. Despite everyone can recognize a sea turtle, many people don't really know what exactly they do, where they breed. It's quite tricky. And as a veterinarian, especially, even if we are used to see turtles or tortoises in exotic pet clinics, a sea turtle is like another world. Like, only the handling is completely different. They are huge. They need water. They are difficult to handle and to maintain. So in this presentation, I want to a little bit show examples of how you guys can do it if you ever have the opportunity. As you know, you have a lot of turtles there, and it's possible that one day you have the opportunity and you are the best person available to treat them. So let's try to give few tips. Um, in this other slide is only a key identification to recognize them. Besides the leatherback turtle, that is this very big one, that the shell is not made of plates, but by kind of leather, softer skin. The rest, if you see on the screen, they have a few differences on size, on the number of plates on the shell, on the shape of the mouth. Basically, to make it easy, I kind of put in my head the two on the left one, the two Lepidochelis. They are the smallest ones. They are basically wider than longer. That's the easy way to recognize them. Then besides the leatherback, we have, if you see the faces and the heads on the lower part of the slide, four other species. One of them I never encountered it because it's only in your area, actually, in Australia and Indonesia, is the Natator depressus. This one is the flatback sea turtle, and you can recognize it because it's the actually it's quite large, but it's very, very flat compared to the other six. And the other three, I would say, to make it easy, that the one that we have here in the Mediterranean Sea a lot, that is the loggerhead, is actually the one that has bigger head. It's very bulky head. And compared with the other two, that is the green turtle, that is very, very smooth, rounded, smaller head, more beautiful, maybe subjectively on the face. And the third one in these three is the hawksbill, that is called like this because actually the beak has like a shape of a hawk beak, and there are a few other differences that you can see in the chart, but maybe this is an easy way to remember. Okay, so once we encounter an animal like this, like, what's wrong with me? Like, how you can examine the animal is not so intuitive as it can be with other animals. Also because, as you know, reptiles already by itself hide very good their signs, and it's not easy to interpret the few things that we can recognize in the examination. But I will try to give few tips. Before that, I would like to share with you some information, some data, some statistics of the years that I was, or I until I was there in the CRAM Foundation in Barcelona. The CRAM Foundation is a rehabilitation center only dedicated to marine animals, to seabirds, dolphins and cetaceans, and sea turtles. We used to take care of all the stranded or animals with problems from the sea, from all the Catalonian coast, that is a part of Spain. And during the first 10 years of existence, from 93 to 2013, that was the year that I left CRAM to actually join the Jaguar Rescue Center. CRAM got about 800 sea turtles, many of them alive, few of them dead. 500 of them were alive. And this statistic of animals that were released shows that they are tough animals. Despite they are difficult, they are pretty tough. It's not like dolphins, that this the other way around. If you remember when we were talking about them, even if we get them in good conditions, it's very difficult to do a complete rehabilitation and release. With sea turtles, if you do the things more or less okay, they are tough animals, maybe there is a rate of success. So this other statistic shows how much we interfere with them, at least in the cases we got in Spain. In every part of the world, the kind of cases differ a lot. Like, this is quite localized on the Mediterranean Sea, which means that none of the European countries anymore consume sea turtle meat, but only 100 years ago here in Spain, they used to do it. The fishermen, it was a typical dish from the area. So it's not that we are different, it's just a matter of time that the culture can change after a short period of time. Only 40, 50 years of some cultural changes. And nowadays it's almost non-existing, the meat from the turtle consumption in restaurants or in places like this, right? But in the first diagram, you see that this 91% is that when we check why the animal came in, okay, this is because some sort of human interaction, or boats, or broken shell from boats, or from pollution, or from fishing nets, etc. In the lower diagram, you can see a little bit more detail. In our cases, what was the most common? The blue part, this 64%, is long line hooks. later I will explain a bit better, but this very long lines in the middle of the sea that they stay a longer time, that they drop another line with a hook in the end, and a lot of sea turtles get entangled by them. But the other very important kind of fishing is with nets, especially dragging nets. Dragging nets are terrible, not only because of the sea turtles, but because often drags everything they encounter, and that's unfortunately non-discriminatory and very yeah, kind of dangerous for animals that they are already endangered. Other things that is very important, in the places that they are lucky to have nesting areas. In Spain is not a typical area, despite we have eventual nest every year, every few years we find some in the area of Barcelona, but it's not a nesting area. Nestings area are a bit warmer in the northern coast of Africa, in Greece islands, in, of course, America, Central American, Caribbean Sea, and South America. There are many animals, individuals that they breed very far away, and they migrate all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. Some of them, they breed in the Mediterranean Sea, but many of them, they move from very far away. In these areas, the beaches are getting less and less. More human hotels, public tourism, more hunting and poaching of the eggs, more lights and houses. So in conclusion, is less places for them to put the eggs. And as they have a very dilated, very slow maturity process, when we start eating and declining the populations of nesting areas, maybe we wait few years until we can actually see the results. But after a few years, you can see that there is really many less, much less breeding sea turtles in the area, and some areas are already disappeared. One example is in the same place I was in Puerto Viejo in Costa Rica. It's a small town, fishing town, that when it started, there were hundreds and hundreds of breeding hawksbills and green turtles in the area, and also leatherbacks a little bit more in the south. And already when I was there, they were some, but the numbers, they were like 1 in 100 of the numbers that they used to be only maybe 40 or 50 years ago. So the consequences, they take a while to show, but they show, and they are terrible. Well, and few other problems, of course. We don't have time to go through each of them, but later we will go a little bit slower through some of them, okay? Some examples of these animals that we used to get. The first picture is a broken shell from a propeller, okay? The second one is a turtle with a trauma on the head, most likely because when the animal got fished on a boat, it was hit on the head. They tried to kill him, but unfortunately, well, they actually didn't succeed. They dropped it on the sea, and we got it. In these animals, those three pictures are animals that they were properly recovered. The third one, the one down to the right, is a plastic stick from ear cleaner soap, if you know what I mean. This kind of plastics that we use every day, almost everywhere in the world, we throw to the toilet, from the toilet go to the sea, and some of them end up in the mouth of turtles, or even worse. Okay, if you remember about the long lines, fishing that we were talking, this is how it works. The objective, the main goal of that kind of fishing is for swordfish or tuna-like animals, like very big blue fish that they travel in big bands, and they travel through the in not shallow waters, okay? In the diagram on the upper part, you can see a little bit how it works. And now I will put a video.
The long line.
of what happens, not exactly in this case, but very similar.
Le saque el anzuelo, Nito. Trata para atrás, para que le saque. Le saca el anzuelo.
Fishermen is not evil people. They are good people who just are doing their job. And this is an example of what they find. They are working in a boat that is a tall boat, not near the water. And when they drag the net, they don't want to hunt or fish a sea turtle, but they encounter one. What happens? That they have this situation that they drag the line, and 2 meters below in the water, there is this turtle. And what they do, they think the best for the animal is to cut the line and they let it go. That actually kills also a lot of animals unintentionally, because the line, the hook is in the mouth, and the line maybe is 2 meters long. And this line, with some time, and the animal will swallow it. And that's actually what kills most of the animals from the hooks. The hook itself don't kill many animals. What actually kills the turtle is the line. So one of the objectives that we had in CRAM was try to show the fishermen how to cut this line. It was okay if they cut it and they let the animal go with a hook, but they needed to cut it near the mouth. So this is another way that we were trying to show that even if they managed to take the sea turtle, they could actually hold it like this, not pull it from the line, and take it to the boat, and then we picked it up from the harbors, and that's how we got most of the sea turtles. Using a net is much safer. Later, I will show you this example of a long stick to try to cut the line near the mouth that from CRAM Foundation they tried to put in every boat from longline fishing here in Spain. Well, these are other examples, right? In an X-ray, how we see the hook, also entanglement on the extremities, etc. We talked about the main kinds of fishing. The second one is dragging nets. Dragging nets, this is a bit of the diagram of how it works, but also there are some solutions that they were tried in different areas of the world. About the dragging nets is this second picture that I just put, and about the long line stick is the one in the background. This is a easy to use stick that the fisherman could cut the line near the mouth. In the other picture is what is called TED, is a turtle exclusion device that was tried in some areas with more or less success. It depends. That was kind of a filter for bigger animals or for sea turtles. So supposedly all the fish went through the window, through the net, the metal net, and the bigger animals kind of bounce on the metal circle and went out through a window. That in some, at least here, when was tried and experimented with it, some fishermen adopted it, but some of them kind of didn't see the same fishing results, and in the end, it was difficult to establish it. There are other ways to help them. Other tries of modifying the kind of hook to use end of hooks that they are biodegradable, so that they can dissolve inside the body of the animal, was one of them. Also, the shape of the hook, instead of a J shape, more like a G shape, that many animals apparently didn't swallow it totally because it didn't fit properly in the mouth. However, it's difficult to see a solution that is really the best of them. All of them has good things and bad things, and in different countries they were established, some of them, and I'm not sure about the results. Okay, so now we will talk a little bit about handling. Okay, this picture shows a very good little tip to examine them, to open the mouth. Okay, this is a smaller sea turtle, but still it works to every animal. If you put your fingers right near the nose and just pull a little bit up, it's an easy way to make the animal open the mouth without forcing to open the mouth. Of course, you have to be careful because these guys, they have a very big mouth. They can bite strong, and I tell you for experience that this mouth, you have to be careful. Maybe they are not the fastest, but they can hurt you very much. And the other way they can hurt you very much is with this, with the flippers, with the nail that most of them they have. They move strongly, the flippers, and if you don't know or you can't restrain it properly when you move the animal, first it can hurt itself, but definitely they can hurt people too. Okay, so of course it depends how you will handle it on the size of the animal. This is a smaller animal that it's much easier to do it. Only one person can do it, but there are a few things that you should know. The best to do it is to, well, to hold it in a way that the animal will not hurt itself and it will not stress more and more. Maybe this picture is not the best, maybe this is a bit better. You have to handle it like in the upper left picture is a good example how not to let the turtle hurt itself and not hurt it yourself. Basically, you have to be careful of not pulling from the flippers because they don't have strong joints. So that works for any size of sea turtle. If you pull from a flipper to pull it, you can hurt very much the animal. They don't have strong joints because they don't have to hold their weight on the land. So the flippers is just muscle basically to swim, but very strong muscle. For smaller sea turtles or medium-sized sea turtles with a box like this, it's an easy way to hold it. If you see in the upper left one, you need to use your, maybe you see myself in the video, it's a bit difficult, but you use your forearm to avoid the one flipper to hit itself, and with the other arm, you restrain gently the other flipper. For bigger animals, the system is similar, but just using two people. For medium-sized or kind of relatively big size of animals, if you must do it by hand, in the left picture, you see how it's in the front area, so he can move the flippers, but will not hurt you or herself. And in the back part, just hold it and it's enough, or maybe hold it by the upper part of the shell. That works too, but just not use the her flippers. For real size sea turtles, that unfortunately sometimes is what we get more often, you cannot hold it. They are animals over 100 kilos, so two people cannot move it. So just be a bit imaginative and use blankets. In this case, we use a trolley for the dolphins, but it works. Similar things made of different materials to move it around. But in these cases, of course, it's more dangerous for herself because her weight is a lot. So any drop from anywhere, it can be fatal for her too. This is one of the swimming pools we had at the rescue center in Cram, and often we needed to take the animal to move it somewhere else to do a medical checkup or to whatever. So once the animal is swimming around, to take it, imagine 100-kilo sea turtle or 130-kilo sea turtle, to take it from a big swimming pool and put it on the ground is not so easy. So you need few people to do that, but the idea basically is that you are not stronger than the sea turtle. So it's to swimming or diving, direct her to the trolley where it will be pulled up by the other people. So if you are swimming, you try to hold it from the shell, one hand up, one hand low, and just let her swim and move it and let her swim to the direction that you actually want. And maybe using two people and some fighting, the animal gets to the area where it will be pulled up by the colleagues. For a bit smaller animals, instead of a bigger pulling trolley, you can use a smaller one like this, that it's kind of quite useful, this system, because it lets the water pass through the plastic. It's not waterproof or something, so it's easy to handle underwater. For the smaller animals, obviously a smaller net will work. And this is an example of using this kind of for intermediate size, for using this system of trolley. But in this case, it was special because that's in the open sea. It's in a reef, in an area that divers used to go. So they call us that for a few days in a row, they saw a 6 sea turtle in the same place with a broken shell, but underwater and alive. He wasn't really moving. So we went diving to the area, and well, we rescued with this system. Okay, once we manage to hold it and bring it to wherever you want, to the examination table, how to handle it. One also very, very good tip that works actually for most of the reptiles, but of course the sea turtles too, is to use this maneuver, that movement that you see on the bigger picture of putting the hand on the head, on the eye area, and pulling it down. Often the animal relaxes instantly. Maybe it happens with the sea turtle and with many other reptiles that they have a few seconds of higher movement. Then once they relax for a few minutes, and suddenly they try to move again. But in general, it's a good way to keep the animal calm. Okay, this picture on the lower picture on the left, this way they put the flippers, is just an example of a sign that they do when they are stressed. Same with upper flippers on movement or in the front. Instead of putting the hand over the head works for a few seconds, but if you actually have to do longer procedures while the animal is still alive, putting cloth like this, this is a kind of bandage for dogs, but you can adapt it to the every size of head. It's a good way to let it calm with eyes closed and relaxed. And once it's like this and the animal can breathe, leaving the air nostrils open, you can do different procedures, taking blood, cleaning, tagging, putting a microchip, or whatever you need to do. So when we start examining the animal, of course, they are animals that, as we said before, they don't show very good signs. So if you have the possibility of, before actually doing the exam, like imagine you have the animal in a small pool or something, so take your time, more than with any other animal, take your time to observe it for a few hours even, to monitor how often the animal breathes, how is the sound when the animal breathes, how is her flotation, how is her alertness, expression, before even touching the animal. Once you observe properly and you monitor properly the animal, you start examining. And when you do that, of course, same as any other animal, just try to not be blinded by the obvious. Often you see a broken shell or a hook and you say, yeah, okay, that's the main problem. Let's do that. Let's do it. Okay, wait, that could be there. But also many other things could be there. So palpate all the upper shell, the palpate and check the plastron, the lower shell, check for the reflexes, palpate for all the skin to see if there is abscesses or bulbs that they are not there, the joints that they move okay, that nothing is extra inflamed, the inside of the mouth, the state of hydration, that on the turtles, the state of hydration, you see them very relatively good by the eyes. And when the animal is dehydrated, the eyes get much more swollen. Um, and I think I have few pictures of a close-up eye that you can see a little bit better how a healthy animal should look like and when a dehydrated animal comes into. Maybe in here you can see the eyelids are bulky and rounded and wet and nice. In a dehydrated animal, often you can see them very sunken. To check also the how fat the animal is, basically check that takes a bit more of experience, but the mass, the muscular mass and the fat mass that is around the flippers, in the neck area and in the upper, in behind, in near the posterior hinge, is a way to do it. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so these are just examples of that of examining the animal already on the table. Of course, it's a bit easier with this size. Using an tire is a good way to avoid them to hurt themselves. If you cannot use a tire, use something that is a bit soft, because imagine an 80 or 100 kilo weight over itself. They have relatively sensitive skin on the below, on the plastron. Is not that strong and it can hurt itself. Okay, this is a picture of what you see when you open the mouth. Maybe for some of you, you will know, but some of you will be surprising to find out that in the second picture, the esophagus looks like this. It's full of sticks, kind of, and the shape of the esophagus. It's very muscular, very strong, and is all the length of the esophagus until the stomach is full of these spines. This is for the way they have to eat. Sea turtles, more than hunting for its speed, they aspirate. When they are near the prey, they open the mouth, they aspirate water, and then they take the water away from the nose or the mouth. So this is used as a filter. So imagine there is a little fish or whatever near, so they aspirate, they get trapped on the aspiration, and they take the water away, and the fish or whatever solid, it gets stuck in this esophagus that is very muscular, and it's already helping to pass it through to the stomach. Also, that helps you understand why sometimes hooks are not that dangerous. Sometimes they are animals that they are used to eat sea urchins, very spiny crabs and stuff like this. So of course metals are not good and some of them can kill them, definitely, but not all of them. I mean, if myself or a dog eats a hook, it most likely, and gets stuck in the esophagus, it most likely will kill the animal after infection or inflammation or perforation to other organs or other things. But a sea turtle, sometimes not. Sometimes they manage to, with the muscle, to pass it through and poop it out, or even leave it there for life with no consequences. On the lower pictures, you can see the glottis. As most of the reptiles and birds, easier to see than some mammals. So when you open the mouth, in the end of the tongue, you can see the entrance of the glottis. I show you that so you guess how difficult will be to intubate. If you ever have to sedate or anesthetize a sea turtle, I highly recommend to always intubate because they can depress the breathing for very long time. And if you intubate, you can force the breathing and you can keep the animal as long and as long as she needs to recover. This is another common problem similar to the ones we see in turtles that they are pets, that sometimes there is bad quality of the water or there is different problems that they may affect the consistency of the plates and kind of rotten beneath with some bacterial or fungal infections. So that was especially to show you that you need to touch it, to palpate every joint of every scale, because sometimes you don't see it just from observing, but when you touch it, you see a softer area and you pull the plate and you can find something like this. Okay, this, Dr. B, no, it's everyone is okay? I'm not talking alone, no? Okay, okay.
You are not talking alone. Every one of us is hearing you perfectly.
Okay.
Go on.
Just to check, just to check. Thank you,
Sure.
guys. So this other picture shows something you try not to ever do. If you can avoid turning the turtle over, please do. It can be very dangerous, okay? So for smaller sized turtles, it's also not good, but they will not die from it. But a bigger sized turtle that can weigh maybe 100 kilos, all the weight over its lungs, it can definitely kill and asphyxiate the animal. So don't ever do it, okay? Unless it's strictly necessary. You can examine the under part of the turtle, just lifting gently 90 degrees the turtle and checking a little bit. So you don't need to flip it over to examine everything. So you can examine using something else, okay? Okay, that part I want to say it, to talk about it, about the reflexes, because sometimes it happens, sometimes, especially with sea turtles, that is not so easy to make sure that the animal is dead or alive. As we said, they can hold breathing for a long time. They can be very depressed. They can be very lethargic, that they seem dead. But sometimes they are not. Sometimes they can lose most of their reflexes. The eye reflexes, the palpebral and the pupillary reflexes, they get lost relatively soon in depression or even during anesthesia. The cloacal reflex is the one that if you take a mosquito and you press around the cloaca retracts. So this is also a good way to make sure if it's dead or well, if he responds to reflexes or not. And it's lost a bit after. And this postural reaction that I say, the last one, maybe it's a bit difficult to explain only by voice, but if you know, if you look to myself, you will see, imagine you have the turtle over a table, and let's see. This is the turtle, this is the head, and this is the tail. Sometimes you can lift gently the body and let go over the table, just a couple of fingers. And when you do that, the animal will do a retraction of the flippers, of the hind flippers. So every alive, healthy animal will do it. So in animal, this is one of the last reflexes that the animal may lose. Even if it's small, this postural reaction will be present. Maybe you can imagine what this is. This is a penis extraction from an adult male. That maybe some of you wonder how to see if it's male or female. I didn't say that in the beginning. When they are young, it's very difficult, but when they are maybe after, depending the species, but after maybe 12, 15 years old, you can see how the tail of the males gets longer and longer until it gets that long, but it takes many years to actually see it. Also, there are a few other differences, like the nail of the front flippers, it can differ and be present or not, but in general it's quite tricky in younger animals without ultrasound or something like this. Okay, we will talk a little bit about feeding. Forced feeding sometimes is necessary with weak animals. This is a healthy animal under rehabilitation in the swimming pool, that you throw a piece of fish and the animal takes it. Sometimes it's not so easy. The animal doesn't want to eat and you need to kind of force, or maybe force some food with some medicine inside. That is maybe one of the best ways to put a pill inside the fish and make him eat it. No? As we said before, they need the water to swallow, so you cannot do it without the water or out of the water, okay? To put a fish in the mouth and expect it to eat. It's better to use chunks that they are not too big, and this is like a sequence that can be helpful. One person lifting gently the turtle, the other using this maneuver that I showed you before of opening the mouth, throwing the piece of fish in, and immediately letting the animal go on the water. Very often, if the animal feels that something is in the mouth, will just swallow it, even though without it, it will not take it. Sometimes before even taking it, you can try to, while swimming, try to open gently the mouth and just put it in, and sometimes it works. In other occasions, maybe the animal is not allowed even to swim, or is too weak, or yeah, it's very, very weak, and you need to force feeding by tube. This is the way we used to do it, to put it in a step surface for a while, even at least 20, 30 minutes after you do it. Don't put it immediately on the water, or may regurgitate. So sometimes to put a silicone tube directly to the stomach, you make the porridge made of fish porridge, or mixed with some convalescence porridge powder mixed with vitamins or hypercaloric nutrients, etc. There is many options of doing it, but if you want to do it, just remember to wait long enough after you put it, because it's a common mistake to right away forget about it. The animal regurgitates and the risk of aspiration is quite high. Okay, this is very quick about how to identify them. It depends on the area of the world. In nesting areas, some of them they put microchip, but in general they don't do it, because of course not everyone can handle or can have a microchip reader on the nesting beaches. So they use external tagging. For us, it was always better, because we didn't have these circumstances, to put a microchip that we just introduce, same as in a dog, under the skin on the neck area. That's how we do it. I know in other areas they do it on flippers and the microchip, and also they do different systems of tagging. That's an X-ray of how the microchip looks like. Okay, I will show you a little bit how and where to inject and to take blood. Probably you've heard that the reptiles, they have not an ideal absorption from the hind part of the body. That is not always true. Sometimes it's okay, depending what, but you will need to know exactly what medicines have good absorption from behind and which ones not. Some animals, depending the conditions, the temperature, if the metabolism of the animal, if it's very weak or not, will have better or worse absorption from the posterior extremities. So just in case, because sometimes it's impaired, sometimes it's good, I better recommend to just do it from the front area. So to do an intramuscular injection, they have a very strong muscles that connect the front flippers to the upper and lower shell. So you will easily palpate them and you can easily inject from there. Subcutaneously also is not difficult. There are many areas. This is one under the neck. You can do it in the connection with the flipper and the shell also, or below the flipper a little bit. So it's not easy to find a subcutaneous area. Also for fluids, if sometimes it needs to be done. And this is what I think it will be helpful for you guys to how to take blood. Okay. It's a little bit different than to do it from other animals or other turtles. So I tell you this diagram, these lines and red circles is how I learned to do it, and is actually a good way. But you know what? I'm doing it in a way that the picture, maybe the diagram is not exactly graphical for what I want to show. But the idea is to have the neck, maybe once again, you look at me. This is the neck of the animal. Here is the head, and here is the shell. So once you have you depress the head low, so you have the animal calm, and you have very straight skin of the neck. Okay, you can divide this neck like in two halves. Okay, and you will see two ligaments on each side of this of these lines. Okay, laterally to these ligaments, if you point not totally 90 degrees, but a little bit low and a little bit medial, there is venous sinus of blood that it's quite big. You will not see the vein, so you will have to go a bit deep, and you may extract blood from there. Okay, I hope you more or less understood. I'm pretty sure this is explained also in most of the reptile books, but this is just how well, my way of seeing at it, and it's not difficult. So I'm sure all of you can do it. The difficult part is to have the animal quiet on there and just not be afraid of going a little bit deep to find it. Sometimes in very dehydrated animals, you will find that you need to put intracelomic fluids. Maybe they are more efficient than subcutaneous. In these cases, you can put more quantity. Saying at the same point that intravenous fluids also is not always easy or possible, because you cannot keep the animal for too long on the same place, and also because you don't really, it's difficult to place the catheter. Even if you put it on the neck in the same place where we put it, it's difficult to maintain it there. So if you put it intracelomic, using this image, just of course being very careful that you will not puncture the intestines and anything. Okay, so we are passing through maybe some examples of how we used to do the imagery of the diagnostics. Some differences of taking X-rays is that maybe in another animal you will place it laterally. In this case, laterally, yeah, you need to move the machine, not the animal, to do it. And also to show you, maybe with these X-rays, that maybe some of the best images you use for the lungs you will need, instead of two sides, you will need three. So the dorsoventral, as many other animals, but lateral as many other animals, but very important way of watching the lungs will be the cranioventral. So the cranioventral in these animals, it's very important. Is the upper left image. So because the lungs are touching the shell up and all the organs are below, so it's a very clean view of what you can see. Actually, in the image, you can see the microchip, but also in our point of view, the right side, you can see how there is a lot of gas in the intestines, and they are putting pressure on one of the lungs, on the in our image, the right side of the lung. It shouldn't look like this in a normal view. Okay, so now we pass to how to keep the animals in our place. This is how we examine the animals and that they are not too big. We said that with the tire. But this is a very good system to keep in mind. It's easy to build. It can be built almost everywhere. And for very weak animals that they are too weak or they cannot be on water, or maybe you don't even have the place, this is a good way to keep it. What we can see? First, we can see just a plastic tube with some dropping water to keep humidity. But this water will be warm because it's like a recycling continuously with a filter. You don't need a filter, but it's just an engine that puts again and again the same water, so you keep it warm. There is under this cushion heating device, so you will be dropping warm water on the animal. Also, maybe you don't see in the picture, but you see the reflex of a red light. You keep on whatever means you have possible a high temperature in the area. As you know, reptiles, they have they are cold-blooded. So if you want the body of the turtle to recover from whatever it has, you need to raise the temperature enough. So for recovering from surgeries, from just putting it for the first hours or first days of very weak animals, for animals that they have a broken shell and you cannot allow them to swim, there is different circumstances that a system like this can be useful, and it's something that you can build yourself without a lot of money, and can be good enough at least for the first hours or days. This is another version of it. In the Incram, we had these other kind of pools, but also we have these other kind of pools that can be relatively easy to find and buy or build yourself. And you don't need a lot of space for them. You just need a place that will be easy to clean, easy to empty, and that the animal can be with a little bit of water, enough to eat, to be in water, and to hide. To hide, we use this system of, this place, I don't know the English name, the places where you plant a vegetable. So I don't know the English name. If someone knows, will be good. And we cut them in half, and you use them for caves for them. So the whole animal will not be there, but they will put the head inside. You can use different other systems, but it's important to reduce stress to allow the animal to hide. So at least to hide the head in a dark, calm area. Other examples of tanks, especially in winter, we had to put them under a plastic external house in the winter months and have external heating on the area. If not, at least warm up the water. But we are talking about a large volume of water, and also you need to exchange the water often. The best way to clean it is not using filters, is maybe just emptying and refilling. It will be faster. You can clean completely and will be faster. We're talking always about animals that will be not too long time in a rehabilitation center, not permanent facilities, okay? Once they pass this first area, we had different ways of having last stage for musculation, for moving more before release, or maybe for some permanent animals that they couldn't be released. We managed to borrow or get a donation from some older fishing factory from this blue circle that you see on the back. Those things are just made of plastic and net underneath, and they allow us to have in real water that's near a harbor some animals for at least the summer months when the seawater was in good temperature. And this is another facility we had for the summer months of some of the animals. That's the Cram had an old rescue center and a new, and then moved in 2011 to a newer area. These are pictures compared of the old and the wood and the new area. The right picture is of the old area, that it was a private house who had a swimming pool that allowed us to use it. And well, to actually, the rescue center was built on an old house that had this swimming pool. And that's the place where we had the rehabilitation area for the dolphins and so on, that with a protection liner wall that is softer than the wall. That's for the dolphins. For the turtles, it's not really necessary, but these bigger pools allowed us to divide the swimming pool for each individual. So some animals, they are okay together, some not, some need smaller space, some bigger, so you can easily divide them. And the left picture is in the newer facilities that we already built it like this. I understand that, of course, that's already having these big facilities. So I always like to show you, especially the first ways of putting it, that is something almost everywhere with not a lot of money you can build at the moment. And this use of swimming pools, you can, using resources, find a place to do it. You don't need a huge place. You just need intermediate place, few weeks or months until the animal recover. If it's a non-recovery animal, then you need a permanent facility. That's another talk. But for rehabilitation, just make sure that the animal is good enough. You don't need a huge space that is good enough for until the animal recovers. You can maintain warmer water, and you can feed and clean the water properly. About the salinity of the water, that's another topic. You don't need to imitate the salinity of the sea if it's for a short period of time. If it's for a short period of time, you can use fresh water without problem. If it's longer time, you will need to salinate, to add salt to the water, but maybe a little bit lower than sea levels are good enough to not affect the eyes. And of course, avoid too chlorinated or to chlorinate the water in longer stayings. Okay, and this, I will not go maybe by the detail, but you have it here, so you can use it in the future if you have to. Basically, it's an idea of how we used to do the diets. The general idea is to mix some blue fish that is more oily, some white fish that is more protein and less oily, and some shells, mollusks, and that will add some minerals to the diet, and also they are more very good for hydration using squid or something like this. We kind of change a little bit the percentages of each depending on what we want. If we want the animal to grow or to maintain, or if it's animal that it's very weak or not. Okay. Also, if the animal is very weak, yeah, better feed it often. But if it's permanent animal that already doesn't need to grow, they don't need, same with other reptiles, they don't need to eat every day. We use a system of this 2010 that is in the lower part of the left, that shows that we feed for 2 days in a row, then a day we did not, one day yes, one day not, and then again. So it was just to do it in an asymmetric way to feed healthy permanent animals under maintenance. If it's an animal with problem, it's in each case is different, of course. Okay, once you have done all the work and you cure the animal and the animal is better, sometimes you have some doubts of, okay, let's release it, but where? Maybe you are not in the place where it was found, maybe you are not even in a near a beach area. Sometimes you will hesitate on releasing from a beach or from a boat. That is a legit doubt because these animals, for instance, the ones that they were released from CRAM in the decade of the 90s and the 2000s, and they were sub-adults, nowadays they are seeing them again coming back to nest in areas where maybe they weren't born or maybe they weren't supposed to nest, because maybe it's not an ideal area because this is a bit of a colder areas. We believe maybe letting the animal release from sand sometimes could have interfered, but it's something to keep in mind. But as a conclusion, we tried for a few years to do it directly from a boat, but it's difficult for them maybe to orientate themselves. So in the end, we just release it from beach. But try to make their life easier. So do it when the temperature of the water is high enough. Do it avoiding places where there's a high percentage of fishing places, fishing nets, fishing boats. It's easier for the animal to locate themselves if they have reference of the moon or the sun. That's what we believe. So, and if you do it in the sunrise or sunset, it will be less stress and more easy to orientate. Yeah, that's a little bit some common sense avoiding big waves and stuff like this. Okay, so just, yeah, a few notes about if you need to sedate or anesthetize the animal. There are several protocols. It's not particularly difficult to sedate or anesthetize a sea turtle. I always recommend the Mather book for reptile medicine. You can see an updated way of protocols for sedation. You can use what I used or we use maybe more often is in my case is combinations with ketamine and diazepam or midazolam, and as soon as the animal is sedated enough, intubate and continue with isoflurane. And with this system, you can do almost everything. Use of propofol or alfaxan, I use it in smaller turtles, but in sea turtles, other people that I didn't use it, but previous of my presence there, they had some bad experiences, so we didn't continue using it. But I know it's a good way to do it too. Just remember to always intubate, and I will put you this to keep humid, especially the eyes. This is a picture of how we maintain the intubation on the turtle, having just whatever that keeps the mouth open and allows in a safe way and allows the tube to go in. This is the picture I wanted to show, the upper right, an animal that is not, that you need to stimulate breathing to do a recovery. The way is not trying to push from over the top of the shell, is actually to do this movement from the front flippers. So it's maybe the easiest way to stimulate the movement of the lungs. Okay, we are almost finishing. Just very quickly, we will show you some typical cases, okay? Animals that they are very, very weak, that you need to do some supportive treatment, antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, some fluids, increased temperature, esophageal feeding, etc. And of course, use the blood work because it helps. As you know, reptiles, they have nucleated erythrocytes, so maybe for the differential, you will have to do it manually, but it's useful at least to monitor hematocrit proteins and differential of white blood cells, and as it's something you can do every few days to monitor the improvement of each animal. And maybe just to go quickly through how to extract in a bit simpler way the hooks if you ever find them. Of course, if they are too deep, maybe they require surgery. Also, just remember to assess how important is to remove the hook, because maybe it's not necessary. We found animals that they had hooks for years and they expelled them themselves, or that they didn't affect the animal. So monitor the animal. If it's defecates, okay. If the blood levels are okay, if the animal is maintained and the hook is stable, maybe you don't need to risk a surgery only because the presence of a hook. So assess it in every case. Okay. The X-rays are, I would say, mandatory if you can, to remove a hook that is a bit deep. You need to locate it, and also it will help to show you maybe if it's affecting some other organs or not. If you have the possibility of doing with the endoscopy, that's ideal, but often you don't have the tools. But if you have it, you can do it through endoscope and using a tube to open the mouth, and some endoscopic tools to work on the end of the esophagus. But if not, a good way, if it's a bit in the surface, I will show you how we used to do it, okay? At least the idea behind it. It works for every hook in every animal, but particularly in these animals. You will probably, hopefully, have the fishing line and going out of the mouth. If not, that's when can be very difficult and very dangerous, as it will be below the body, and then it's very hard then. But if it's out of the mouth, you can use it to pull gently a little bit to locate the hook. Try to see if it's only got it in the esophagus, and hopefully it's not stuck in some bone areas. The idea, it would be to try to complete the, difficult to explain it in English, I don't know how to say it, but once the hook is stuck, don't just pull, complete the hook getting stuck until it goes through the other side. Once it's in the other side, you try to do a ligature on the dead part of the hook, and then you will have two points of moving and maneuvering with the hook. Once you have it, you can just cut the proximal part of the hook, the part with the original line, and pull the other. And then it's an easier way to do it, because if the other way of doing it that maybe can be more obvious is just pull it behind, but then you will damage a lot of tissue and it can be way more dangerous. Okay, some pictures. And this is the worst you can see, is that the fishing line is going out of through the cloaca. If you see the line is going up there, that means that the hook is maybe stuck in the esophagus or the stomach, and the line went all the way through all the intestines and they break them all. There is no solution to that. And few more other examples that, of course, is unfortunately very common to have broken shells. That's a complete other topic that there would be a lot to talk about, but we wouldn't do it now. But the idea behind is to see if it affects the coelomic space or not. If it's perforating to the lungs or the coelomic space, it's way more worse prognosis than if not, because it's affecting all the inside. Sometimes it's just an external damage and will be much better prognosis, okay? Also, another complication is, of course, there are animals that they live in water. So you would do a similar thing as you would do with a freshwater turtle, with the difference of the handling of having an animal so long not swimming, so and they need the water to get hydrated, much more to freshwater turtles. So you will need to be a bit imaginative in tanks of intensive care units like I showed you before. Sometimes you can use temporary masses to stop the communication from the inside and the outside, that you can just clean every day, every few days, and the animal can be on more humid space and start curing it by itself until you consider appropriate to cover. And to end, an example of that we found in Costa Rica, of harpooned turtles. These were all pictures from how they were found by the police. Adult green turtles that before they nest on the beach, they throw harpoons and they perforate the shell. That's very dangerous because often can affect the lungs and the inside, and especially some pictures of showing you how a non-marine rescue center has to adapt. So that's something we managed to do on the first day when they arrived, and we never had before a marine animal, so we didn't have to have swimming pools there. So if you are a bit imaginative, you can find a way to keep the animals for a few hours or days until you buy or manage to find a swimming pool or a better place to do the longer recovery of the animal. But yeah, just know that if you want, you can. And of course, all these animals, one of them unfortunately died, but all of them were managed to recover. Some of them it took many months to do it, but we were possible, and then yeah, we managed to release them. So that's until here. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Terima kasih semuanya.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ferran, for giving your presentation. And we will give you a break time, yeah, a bit. And while you have your break time, we will show some videos. And we're gonna greet your colleagues from GRC.
Okay. Okay, yeah, because I told Encar that if she could join, and I just read the WhatsApp that I think she's already online. So that's great. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank
there
you.
she is. Hello,
Here.
Car.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi,
So,
doctors.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Dr. Vinol, nice to meet you. Hi,
yeah.
Dr. Ferran.
Hello, Encar.
Very nice conference.
Thank
And I'm
you.
so happy
How is
for
it
the
going?
donations. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we're having already 120 US dollars. So please tell
Thank
us a
you.
bit about the JRC and Dr. Ferran
Well,
as well.
Jersey, yeah, Jersey is my home here in that paradise in Costa Rica in the Caribbean South. So, and start in 2008 because of the passion of two biologists, my husband and I, my late husband, and well, we both were passionate for wildlife, and everybody knew about our jobs in Europe and in different places around the world. So just neighbors and authorities started to bring us animals because there were nothing here around. Nobody was taking care of wildlife. And right now we receive around 800 animals a year. This year, probably with the pandemic, with the COVID, it's getting worse. I thought in the beginning that maybe it will be a little bit better because nobody, is less human impact, but it's been a disaster. So more animals are coming in every day here, around 3 animals every day, attacked by dogs or poaching, as Ferran say, with the turtles, or hit by a car or electricity. We have a lot of animals that are born in a power lines. They get burned in a power lines, and that is one of the main issues that we have here in this area.
Okay, so how many animals that Dr. Ferran were cured?
How many animals?
Thousands?
We are. Excuse me.
Thousands?
Can you repeat me, please? I couldn't hear
How
you.
many animals that Dr. Ferran treated there while he was there?
Oof, a lot. Well, Ferran was here for 5 years, so when he started here to work here, the center just had a small clinic, and we had like around maybe one animal a day or something, around 450 animals. And when he left us, we had around 700 animals just 2 years ago. So yeah, it's been increasing, you know, the quantity of animals, and he helped us so much in our clinic and improve our facilities, and of course getting more professionals.
Okay, last question from us. It's already almost 150 US dollars for the donation to GRC, and just in 2 hours. And what will you say for?
Well, I want to say thank you so much, because as you can imagine, during these days, this month has been so hard to keep the center running and to buy the food for all the animals, to pay the bills, to the salaries, and the minimum that we need every month is $30,000. So the minimum. So we are so happy, because the minimum amount is so important right now for us. So thank you to you all. And after the pandemic, you all can come as a volunteers and to help us here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Latin America. Right. Okay. We're gonna try to scale up the donations while we conduct the discussion session. So thank you, Anchor from Jaguar Rescue Center, for greeting us.
Thank you.
We're gonna make it a higher donation for us until the end of the show. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
we're
so
gonna
much.
Yeah.
Bye
And
bye. Have a good day.
bye.
Bye, Fer.
Deo.
Okay. Dr. Dita, are you there?
Yeah.
I am here.
Okay. Then please lead the discussion session.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Beren. It's really amazing presentation. It's barely imagine how those turtles in pain, right? So, okay. To the first question. Are you ready, Dr. Ferran?
Yeah, let me know.
Great. Okay. I need a minute here. First question coming from Sabrina Haisha. I often see pictures sea turtles, carapace or body coverage by corals. Does it normal? And do you have any indication when to use sedative or anesthetic agent to examine or do the procedure on sea turtles?
Yeah, that they have shells or different mollusks growing on the top of the shell. It can be very normal. However, there is maybe an indication in some cases of an animal that has been swimming slower for longer periods of time. So it depends on the areas. In our area, for instance, in Mediterranean Sea, if we see an animal with a lot of them, it may be not a good sign because maybe has been swimming slower and getting weaker for a longer period of time. And the other question was about what? Sorry, or that's it. I forgot. Do you
Dita, are you
hear me,
there?
Dita?
You can hear me?
Now I hear you.
No, yes? Okay, sorry. So the other question is, do you have any indication when to use sedative or anesthetic agent to examine or do the procedure on sea turtles?
Yeah, my advice is to try to avoid it if possible. Handling can be done without it. So if you don't need to do something deeper, something like that has to be painful or something, try to do it without. because you can do it without. To take blood, to tack, to examine, to do an X-ray, to do an ultrasound, to do almost everything that is not invasive, you can do it without sedation. So if you can try it, I will just keep it for surgeries or medical, deeper, more painful procedures.
Okay. So, Dr. Sabrina, it's going to be your answer. And the next question, Dr. Ferran. What is the most difficult cases in sea turtles that you ever handled? Please, I am waiting the full sharing. Thank you, Dr. Ferran.
Yeah, there is a lot of them, and some of them unfortunately are very difficult because yeah, sometimes you don't have the tools or you don't know exactly what's going on, and maybe in the end you find out. Maybe I remember an animal that was floating, and we couldn't see exactly how, why. Floating animals or wrong flotation of animals often is common. Sometimes it's just gas in the intestine, sometimes it's a sign of a pneumonia, but in these cases it didn't seem a pneumonia, and the image didn't show it was in the intestines. So it was in the end we did we find out it was an pneumocele, that it was like air circled and isolated from the lungs. But with some time and treatment, we managed to recover. But it took yeah, the hand of a lot of other vets to help, and it was difficult. Same as this one, there is many. Often you need the help of other people, and in my case, I do it all the time. As you know, I handle a lot of different species, and I know my limitations. So when you see a case that is actually getting complicated and you cannot go further, always there is more specialists than you somewhere else in the world, and don't be ashamed of asking for advice.
Okay, that's nice. I hope it's answering your question. And the next question is coming from wait a minute. Okay, from Sarah Rosiana. Hi, Doc Ferran. Thank you for sharing. Could you please explain to us the procedure to treat sea turtle with broken or cracking shell? Is it need any analgesic or anesthesia during the procedure? What will be the best material to fix the correct shell? Thank you for your explanation. Please, Doc Ferran.
Yeah, the correcting shells, myself and previous vets from CRAM has doing different methods. So the method, it depends a lot on the case. There are cases that they are more superficial, that maybe they are not affecting the celoma, and they don't have mobile pieces, that of course they have much better prognosis. If there are just a crack but without losing material, maybe it's not too bad prognosis. There is different methods of just unifying the crack to put it together and just isolate using different methods of epoxy or fiberglass or different stuff to just avoid water to coming in. But you can just put it. Maybe the most challenging is the ones that they affect not just the shell, but they may affect the column, the spinal bones, and it may affect mobility or it affect the lungs. In these cases, you need strong work with antibiotics, and of course, anti-inflammatories and painkillers are important too. About the sedation, it depends. I guess in some deeper cases, maybe you need to use anesthesia and do it properly, because it will be a long procedure to at least to have it sedated so you can clean properly the wound, debridate, and etc. So in these cases, maybe yes, it may be advisable if you have the chance. And about the materials, yeah, I told you there is a lot of different ways of doing it. It depends a little bit of the case, but yeah.
So it's beyond the cracking itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's beyond the shell, the prognosis is much worse, and yeah, it can be complicated.
That's true. Okay. So the next questions coming from Dr. Hewan Ari from Halofet Ari. So Dr. Ari is usually handling a stranding and confiscating turtles. So she's asking, at many stranding or confiscated cases, most of the bulls had penile prolapses. On that particular cases, that is will be back normal as soon as the stress level reduce, or it takes special treatment. If that's so, what treatment or method that we should do for them to be released back to the sea? Did you get it?
Cloacal, I more or less, it's about the prolapse, as you said.
Yes, it's a penile prolapses.
From the penis. Okay, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Normally, yeah, it's normal from the stress and having the animal out of the water, and the stress and the weight of the animal and the inflammation of the area and the pressure of the whole body. It sometimes it happens. It not just with sea turtles. It happens with other reptiles under similar conditions of stress, like iguanas or chameleons or different. So in this case, normally, honestly, when it happens to me only momentaneously. So it happens, and after you put the animal in water under proper conditions, it goes back inside without further problem. I never encountered the case of a real problem of a prolapse that you cannot just manage. I guess same as you do with other animals, to keep it protected basically from wounds. So if it's prolapsed, to protect it with wet, moist gases or cloth until you manage to put the animal in water. And once the animal is in water, and if not, you use maybe some anti-inflammatories, but maybe it's not even necessary. Hopefully it will just get back inside. I guess the problem is a problem when you have it on the land. If it's in water, it's a matter of time, I want to think. But of course, it can be other cases, but that's what I think.
Okay, so it's gonna be the same penile prolapses and cloacal prolapses on the method of the treatment.
Sorry, you didn't understand, Dita. Can you repeat?
So it's gonna be the same for the treatment and the method for the penile prolapses and the cloacal prolapses.
In the cloacal, maybe you need to investigate what's the cause. If you're related directly to the stress of transportation, maybe it's that. If not, same as with other animals with cloacal prolapse, try to check the cause of it. Sometimes animals that has been in dry for a long time accumulate a lot of gas in the stomach and the intestines, and the prolapse can be normal. Once you put it in water and you put it in the normal conditions, should get better. So yeah, I guess it will be similar, but of course it can be potentially dangerous, and it can be caused by other things. So maybe if it's not getting better, to further investigate will be necessary, doing X-rays or whatever necessary.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, Dr. Ferran, coming from Lutfi Haidar. Dear Dr. Ferran, I have question for you. What kind of test do you usually do with the blood sample? And what is the purpose of the test?
Well, with the what kind of test for blood sample, right? Did you ask?
Yes, the blood sample.
Well, I guess to do a complete blood count in a manual differential, it's very useful. The purpose, of course, is to know if the level of the white blood cells, the erythrophils, or all the white blood cells are increased or not, and more than to check it, because sometimes it's difficult to have reference values, is, as I always advise, to compare it with the same animal in repeated samples. So only one sample maybe is not enough information, but to repeat it, so it can tell you if you are doing a good work or not, if the animal is improving or not. And of course, you can do biochemical analysis as well, a proteinogram that you can use with a regular machine used in clinics, but the differential you will have to do it manual. Of course, if you can use a hematosymptometer, a Neubauer camera to do the complete blood count as well, or you can just do the percentage in the differential. But at least the hematocrit, the total protein, and if you have the chance to do a biochemistry for check the organs and so on, and the differential is something that it's always advisable to do.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ferran. Another question coming from Santa Nova. Dr. Ferran, this rectal knowledge is so interesting to learn, and thank you for sharing. I'd like to ask you, is that something zoonosis from sea turtle that can infect it to human? As we know, they can be always kept in house. When will they can be released? And is there the same turtle rehabilitated back after releasing? Is there something like microchip to know? Okay, this is too much question. Exactly. I'm gonna breaking some of the question for you. First question is, there is any zoonotic disease from turtle to human?
Well, there are, but maybe in my experience, it's nothing really dangerous that you need to keep in mind. I mean, it's similar to other turtles or reptiles. There are salmonellosis, there are some bacterial, fecal bacterial that can be zoonotic, but in the matter of infectious viruses or infectious bacteria, just general precaution must be get. Of course, wounds can be infected. You really don't know the origin of the pneumonias or of the different infections. So I would always advise general precautions. About viruses, I know there are some herpes viruses that affect turtles, the papilloma viruses, but I honestly think they don't really are the same ones that affect humans, but same as with any other wildlife, general precautions is good to have. I don't know if I answered. I hope I did.
You are answering really good. Thank you. Okay. The other question still coming from Santa Nova. There is the same turtle that is rehabilitating is back after releasing. You know, when we are releasing some wild species, they are usually coming back to the centers. Is it happening to sea turtles?
Yeah, sometimes it happens. In this case, in CRAM in Barcelona, we found several cases, a few dozens actually, but they can be back, maybe not necessarily sick, but when they arrive to the beach, and you check the microchip, yeah, we found that they were animals rescued 10 years ago or something like this. And I remember one case in the time I was there that was got in a fishing net twice. So it got already a microchip, and it's again was an animal that had the same problem. So the animal didn't learn. But yeah,
Sure.
it can happen.
Okay, great. Because the other question is about the microchip. So your answer is already answering the question. Thank you very much. Another question coming from Duyati. Dr. Ferran, what cases usually is intracolamic drug administration used? Can the broken shell be replaced, and what materials are used?
Okay, about the broken shell, I think we already answered that in the previous question.
Exactly, yes.
And about the celomic fluids, I would say basically for fluids, any dehydrated or severely dehydrated animal, it's very recommendable to do it. Basically for rehydration, it will be the best because there is not as much space for subcutaneous fluids, and as we said before, intravenous fluids are very tricky to administer.
Okay. All right. So for the broken shell, what materials are used? Can you answer that? Like,
For the materials,
yeah.
also it's a very broad question, because it can. I mean, I also will refer you to the chapter in Mather about shell reparation, because there they will describe all the possibilities, and actually you can use as many materials as available for smaller pet turtles or stuff like this. As we said before, I used fiberglass, I use epoxy resins, I use different kinds of glues, I used a resin, I don't know the English name, resin, I don't know if I say it correct, but one of the things that is used also for dentistry. So I modified the way I do it depending the case, the severity of the case, and the stuff available. Sometimes you're in different places and you must use what you have available. Also, of course, you can just fix the mobility of some broken stuff, not just covering it, but just fixing it using also different methods, using screws, and wire, or using even plastic. There is different ways to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ferran. Another question coming from Aditya Yudana. Um, Thank you for your interesting sharing, Dr. Ferran. I want to ask about force feeding method in sea turtles. What is the best nutrition compound for recovering them from weak condition? Is it applicable for all species? Because each species of adult sea turtle have different type of feed on the sea.
Yeah, it changes a little bit. The turtles I work more is basically loggerhead and green sea turtle. The one you actually need to be more focused is about green sea turtles, because green turtles, they have a completely different nutrition. They are more omnivores when they are very young, but when they are adults, they are mostly vegetarian. So for adult green sea turtles, you need to focus on a veggie source. However, for tube feeding, they will adapt different kind of porridge that you made manually. When we had to do it, we mix some veggie origins with some compound that we had, like a convalescence for herbivores. That is like a product that we had and we usually use for other animals. And for the sea turtles that we use here in Barcelona, the ones the loggerhead, you can use also different compounds. You can use just fish and bluefish, especially in porridge, with some additions like calopet or different of these commercial highly caloric and vitamin compounds. Or maybe also another way is to put or to force feed using gelatin. For instance, in green turtles that we use too, you make gelatin with stuff inside. What stuff? So maybe mollusk like mussels, even vitamins, and you make whatever you want, and you mix it with gelatin, and you force feed the gelatin that is a mix of everything you want.
Okay, so it's gonna be the same for the baby sea turtle, about 1 or 2 months old.
Honestly, 1-2 months old, we don't have. In 1-2 months old, it's very difficult that you find them unless you have a nest that you put in captivity. That in my case, I didn't have the experience of doing that, but I guess it will be relatively similar. You need to adapt for the species because the nutrition of the green turtle, yeah, as we said before, it changes. It's more, yeah, it's more varied when it's a young than when it's an adult.
Okay, so probably Dr. Aditya coming from the turtle sanctuary, because his question is like probably he's hatchling the turtles, because the next question coming is, there is any effective clinical treatment regarding traumatic cases, especially broken flipper? Is that any different approach in baby, juvenile, or adult? Maybe you can share the details of your experience in this case, Dr. Ferran.
Well, in fractures, basically the idea behind is if it's an open fracture that needs to be healed and not infected. Of course, that's one side of the story, that you need to avoid infection. If there is no infection, fixing bones of flippers is not as necessary as in any other animal. In general, depending what it is. But we had humerus and femurs and other bones of flippers broken that we just let them be, and they recovered and the animal managed to do it. Maybe when an animal is a little bit impaired on one flipper, they compensate with the other two. So depending the case, of course, but I wouldn't be too eager to do bone repair surgeries on turtles unless it was really necessary, because animals can even live without one flipper and swim properly, compensating with the other two, as I said. So yeah, that would be a bit more my experience on that.
Interesting, really interesting. Still coming from Dr. Aditya. One more question, Dr. Ferran. One more question. Maybe it's just a little out of topic, but I want to ask, what is the best management for sea turtle hatchling nest? Natural or semi-natural? In order to minimize microbes contamination, because sometimes we often face the decreasing of hatchling due to bacterial and fungus contamination.
Yeah, in that case, I will not answer very good, because in CRAM we didn't have many nesting management. The nest we had, we always just protect them in the same beach where they were. We didn't have to move them. When I was in Mexico, I was collaborating with a Jotzinli association, with one biologist who worked for many years with turtle nesting, and it depends, at least my experience on that period and on other periods in Costa Rica, that also we sometimes find it. Each association and each group that it's located in different areas have to protect it depending what they have. For instance, in Panama, also a good example, they needed to move it to a hibernary to another on the beach, basically because of the risk of poaching. So if there is a high risk of poaching and there is long beaches like in all Central America, that there is kilometers and kilometers of beaches, and you know you will find them and they will poach them, then you need to try to do hibernation in a different location. And if it's maybe just areas that do not limited amount of poaching, just a simple protection or just locating the place and hiding it a little bit will be more than enough. That's my experience with that, but I told you it's not a very big experience on nesting management.
That's nice. That's nice. Thank you. Okay, next question coming from Sabrina Haisha. If you don't mind, I ask two more questions. It's okay. What is the recommended drug of choice, sedative or anesthetic agent you usually use on sea turtle, and why? And please recommend the NSAID agent for pain management, anti-inflammation in sea turtle. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sedation, honestly, the one I use more is combination with ketamine and midazolam, and then maintenance with isoflurane. And about there is other combinations you can use, other drugs, but that's the one. If I can have the chance, I will do it. You can use also medetomidine and ketamine, medetomidine, midazolam, and revert the medetomidine later. It's also perfectly well used combination. Just to know that if you use a high dose of ketamine, the recoveries are very long. So if you can use ketamine together with something else, maybe it will, and it has to be a long anesthesia, it will be better. Try also to just use the minimum enough to intubate, because if you just do use injectable anesthetics, yeah, the recoveries can be very long, and very long means many hours. So better try to use just the minimum to intubate and continue with gas. And about painkilling, yeah, more or less you can use depending the case, I guess, depending the case. You can use carprofen, you can use meloxicam, different insights that we've used without a problem in some severe cases, some tramadol, but I guess it depends on the case. So yeah, similar to what you can find in the Carpenter in the chapter for turtles, I guess you can apply to sea turtles. And also, I refer again to the chapter in Mather about the sea turtles, that it's very useful about therapeutics and drugs.
Okay, cool. So the red line is whatever we can use or possibly use on tortoise, it could be applicable for sea turtles, isn't it?
I guess in the chat of the birds we had similar question. If I know I'm confident with the drug, I will use it. If it's a drug I never use, I will always do a research on that. I mean, it's like, okay, maybe I would use here gabapentin, but I never use gabapentin in turtles. Let's do some research. So you just try to look experiences or references from the books or articles if it has ever been used. And I guess that's the best way, because otherwise it can be confusing. So there is a limited amount of drugs that maybe you are confident that you know for sure it's okay, but whatever goes out, just double check every case. Fortunately, years ago, no, but nowadays there is relatively good information about most of the commonly used drugs.
Exactly. Research. I do agree. So thank you, Dr. Ferran. That's gonna be the last question. I'm gonna giving like 20 seconds or 10 seconds for everyone who still want to send you some question. It's really interesting, though.
Yeah, if not, Dita, what we can do, you can send me, or people, whoever wants, can contact me through email or through the Instagram, and
Instagram
I will answer more detailed if somebody wants, of course.
Sure, sure. So how is it, Dr. Bino? What are we gonna do how?
Sure, very sure.
No more question?
Yeah, I think that's all.
Well, thank you very much, guys, and it's a pleasure to share that with you. And I will be happy to contact anyone who wants to write me in private. And yeah, as Enker from Java Rescue said, I will love if some of you guys can manage to go to America one day and volunteer with or collaborate with her over there. And I hope I will meet you in person one day.
That's nice of you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferran. So veterinarians, fella, this is a very interesting sea turtle management.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Vino. Thank
Thank
you,
you
Dita.
very much. All right. So I'm gonna giving this presentation going to Dr. Bino.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nita, and we do really apologize to disturb your holidays in Bali now. And she is in her vacation, and now she is in her car, yeah, to
Oh
avoid
my
the
God,
busy.
I'm so sorry, guys.
sorry to disturb you.
No worry.
Yeah,
It's
she said,
it's a pleasure.
all right, thank you. She said that she really misses you, Ferran. Oops.
Yeah,
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, we do
Sure,
miss you. We
excellent.
all of us miss you,
I'm
and we're
back in
gonna.
Indonesia. I will be back.
Yes, of course. We're gonna always be patient to wait for your fourth series. Yeah, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be good, yeah. But it's
Is
up
it
to
Yeah,
you.
we will talk about it.
Okay, okay. Just let us know when will you will give share us the next series of your Meet Dr. Ferran, yeah, in Dr.B the Pet Show, and it will be the next year, but still we will wait for that.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, everyone.
And everyone,
Bye.
lastly, before we close the show, we're gonna thank Dr. Dita first for moderating the show. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dita. You can continue your holiday.
of course? Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah. Don't drink too much, please,
Oh,
and don't be
okay.
home late.
All is well.
Oh, it's good to hear. Okay, I will also inform you guys that the final donation from the participant. Wow, this is really huge, yeah, because we gained about 120 US dollars, and we from the company we're gonna make it even up to the 140 US dollars. Thank you guys for the coordination, for your donation to Jaguar Rescue Center in Costa Rica. We do hope this will be very beneficial for them and for us. And yeah, we it is unexpected, yeah. Just in 2 hours, and we can collect about 150 US dollars. Wow, wow, this is amazing, and we really thank you for the donations, and also Dr. Ferran that share us his knowledge and his experiences about the sea turtle. Yeah, I think we're gonna meet him again about next year for Meet Dr. Ferran series number 4, and as well the podcast for Dr. B the Pet Show next week. Yeah, will be about the elephant conservation on December 20. Yeah, at the same time, 8 p.m. Jakarta time, GMT +7, and we're gonna meet you there. And I think that's all from us. That will be the face show, the veterinary video podcast. And we really thank you guys for watching this event and for your donation. Also, we're gonna put this information in our Instagram, and we're gonna inform you more about the screenshot of the donation through the credit card of our team, which is Dr. Afdi. He is only the one that having the credit card, so we're gonna ask for his help to donate to Jaguar Rescue Center. Well, I think that's all from us. That will be the facial. Thank you so much, and take rest. Yeah, have a nice sleep well, rest well, and ready for tomorrow activities. Stay safe and stay healthy during the pandemic. Yeah, and we're gonna see you later. Thank you and good night.
Hello, my name is Enkar, and I'm the biologist and the founder of the Jaro Rescue Center. Welcome to my home here in the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica, in Limon area. Follow me, and I want to show you my place. We have around 230 animals right now here in the center, and all of them arrive from the huge biodiversity of this area. We have sloths, snakes, monkeys, wild cats, a lot of different kind of animals for a lot of different reasons, like electrocutions, hit by cars, or orphan babies, or they were confiscated by the police or by the authorities, by the government. A lot of different reasons. And here we have the kitchen, and Angelica is the main responsible of the kitchen, the cooker. So she's preparing around 200 plates every day of vegetables, fruits, fish, chicken, meat, a lot of different things for a lot of different animals. And now let's enter to the hospital. Here is our veterinarian team. They are healing Gamora's wounds right now. Gamora was electrocuted in a power line around a month ago. So the injury, it was very, very severe, as you can see in all the whole body. And the treatment, it was complicated. Twice a day the vets have to take care of her with a lot of pain, but she's getting much better. And like Gamora, 70 animals in need of our care arrived last month, and no one is left behind here. Vamos. She's Dada. She's a brown booby with a fractured wing, as you can see. She came here around 2 years ago, and she's the queen of the yard. She's the queen of the rescue center. Is going around and is eating fresh fish every day. Is going to the beach sometimes with the volunteers, and it's so important to have some animals as ambassadors. The ambassadors represent the impact that we humans put in our biodiversity, in forests, animals, and it's why she's here. I arrived in 2005 here in Costa Rica from Barcelona. I'm a biologist, and my late husband, it was an herpetologist. We both started treating animals here because no one was taking care of them in the area. So suddenly our home, it was full of animals. Since 2005, we receive here at the Java Rescue Center around 5,000 animals. We operate thanks to donations, visitors, and volunteers, but we are struggling right now because the pandemic started in March, and we were able to keep the center running during this month, but now every month to pay the bills is getting more difficult. So our job is in risk right now. We need around $30,000 every month, and every month is getting more complicated. This is why I reach out to you. Each and every donation, even if it's small, is a world to us. Please follow us in social medias and share our message. And thank you so much for helping us to help them.